Hello everybody, my name is Ibrahim Wantar aka Abi Watt, and today we're reacting to a good one. It's the Infographs video about the insane history of the NHL Stanley Cup trophy. I'm surprised that there's a video just specifically about the trophy. I'm assuming it has a freaking amazing history, so I guess I'm gonna find out right now. But Infographs have some amazing videos, so I thought it would make sense to watch this, and I was recommended to watch this as well, so that's why I'm gonna check it out. It must be good. Infographs videos are usually pretty damn amazing, so I'm excited for this one. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you'd like me to react to next, and I'll always do the best effort to check it out. There's not much to explain here. I think this is a self-explanatory title, so let's get straight into this. Okay, let's go.
You might be wondering why the infographic show is doing a show about a trophy, a
Yeah.
hunk of metal, rather
I'm
than,
wondering.
say, a video about the sport itself, or perhaps a show about how incredibly violent ice hockey was in the past, if not still today. But we aren't talking about just any trophy here. The Stanley Cup has a story that could be a movie. Not only is
Okay.
it the oldest trophy in professional sports, but it's
Oldest.
been places you wouldn't have imagined. It's
Wow.
been some pretty ordinary places too, though, including in the possession of every member of every team that has won it. If you know your hockey, that means Montreal Canadiens team members have had it the most throughout history. We'll give
Yeah.
you a rundown of the Cup's history first,
I
and
know
then
that.
get into the weird and wonderful stuff. So you might not be surprised to find out that it was an English bloke that was behind the Stanley Cup. And yes,
Oh,
his
really?
name was Stanley. His title was Lord Stanley of Preston. When he wasn't lording over things in the industrial north of England, he liked nothing more than to hop on a boat and go to the land of frozen lakes and maple leaf syrup. In 1888, he became the Governor General of Canada, and it's said that
Oh.
one of the things he liked about Canada was some strange sport where men skated around on ice and bashed each other up while trying to slot a puck into some nets. Hockey
Wow.
back then was still up and coming, mainly played in the government town of Ottawa, where people skated to work in winter, and in the larger city of
Oh.
Montreal. It was written in a newspaper that
Wow.
after old Stanley caught a game in Montreal, he expressed his great delight with the game of hockey and the expertise of the players. Soon his sons had formed their own teams in Ottawa, but Stanley said something was missing. That was a tournament for all the teams to play and a set of rules. I have for some time been thinking that it would be a good thing if there
Wow.
were a Challenge Cup, which should be held from year to year by the champion hockey team in the Dominion of Canada, said Stan. We probably don't have to tell you that back then, even though Canada was a self-governing entity, it was still rather British when it wasn't being particularly French. It was so British that the cup, or rather a bowl when it was first created, was made in England from that famous Sheffield steel.
Oh,
It
wow.
cost 10 guineas, which is around $50, and that equals around $1,357 in today's cash. On the cup it read
Ah.
Dominion Hockey Challenge Cup, and on the other side it said from Stanley of Preston. Who would have thought
Okay, wow,
that
this is
Preston,
amazing.
a place where most people probably couldn't name more than one famous hockey player, a deep connection with ice hockey.
Yeah, that's
Anyway, there
crazy.
were a few rules, such as each team had to give the cup back to the next winning team, and they could engrave their name on one of the rings. It would never be the property of any team, and teams had to promise to keep the cup in good condition.
Ah.
We might soon discover that this last rule hasn't always been kept. The first winner was the Montreal Hockey Club, who beat the Ottawa Hockey Club 3-1 in 1894 in a thriller that saw a bunch of fine gentlemen with handlebar mustaches shake hands politely after the game. The
1890,
trophy
wow.
passed hands many times, and probably the biggest change was in 1926 when the National Hockey League took control of the competition. At this time, dear old Stan had given up the ghost, and hockey had become a big deal south of the border. 2 years
Wow.
later, and it was in American hands for the first time when the New York Rangers beat the Montreal Maroons. The cup would stay mainly in Canada for years to come, but then in the 1980s, American teams started doing well, and then even better in the 90s. That original bowl is now in a vault in Toronto, where you can find the Hockey Hall of Fame, and there have been two other
What?
cups since. As we said, the Montreal Canadiens have won it the most times, and they took it 23 times in total,
23,
with the
yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs winning it 13 times and the Detroit Red Wings 11 times. Right, so
Wow.
besides it being very old and special, what else is there to say about this cup? Well, the answer is a long one, as you'd expect from a cup that has been in the hands of many, many hockey players. We'll start with the past and the fact that one of the cups was nearly lost forever when in 1924 the careless Montreal Canadiens left it at the side of the road and took off.
No
Thankfully,
way.
someone must have said something like, "I think we might have lost the cup, eh?" Or perhaps more along the lines of, "Je pense que nous l'avons pour être perdu la coupe, eh?" Okay,
That
we
French.
don't speak French very well and had to use Google Translate there, so nous sommes désolés, French and French Canadian people, if we got that wrong. It's a good job, in fact, that the cup is
He
made
tried,
of
he
tough
tried.
stuff, because on more than one occasion, it's been treated badly. You could say for many years it's been in an abusive relationship.
Wow.
We might recall the time that the New York Rangers had to pee on it because they started a fire they couldn't put out. That
Oh
was
my
in
goodness.
1940, and it wouldn't be until 1994 that the Rangers would win the cup again. The team was so overjoyed that year that they took the cup out for a few nights, and for a while it stood in an East Side strip club.
Oh.
I'm not sure that they really understood what it meant the way a Ranger fan would, the owner of the club said about his dancing employees. But they were playing along because they were feeding off the frenzy of the crowd. Apparently,
Wow.
the strippers would bring it on stage and do their routine around it. Players also
Oh.
drank out of it, and it visited other bars around New York. While with the Rangers, it also said the cup fell out of the trunk of a car. But perhaps the best thing the players did was fill it with oats and give it to a horse, so it would put its head in and they could take a photo. Apparently, fans were very upset about this,
That's
as many of them
amazing.
had queued for hours to get a picture with the cup. A New York Post headline as a result went, "Another fine mess, Stanley. Battered cup used to feed the Derby champ. Then crowd is upset." Some players just like to get it out in public. They did this because the girls loved seeing it hanging down in front of a big burly hulk of a man. Vice magazine interviewed one such player that
They've
loved
messed it
getting
up,
it out for the
basically.
women. And he said, "I was still single at the time, and that was the biggest chick magnet you could find." But all this showing
Wow.
girls your trophy and taking it to strip clubs didn't go down well with some people, and they thought it was an act of indecency. The amount of
Yeah.
disrespect shown is mind-boggling, said the son of a guy that had made the cup. "My father must be turning in his grave. It was very beat up, so he had a point." One of the Rangers even admitted that, saying, "It's safe to say we ruined it for every other team moving forward."
Wow.
They weren't too pleased with us by the end of the summer.
They really
It
went
wasn't
all
in
out.
great shape, put it that way. Still, it was good news for the Rangers, who thought they had been cursed to never win a cup again after it said they desecrated Stanley's legacy in 1940 by burning the mortgage of Madison Square Garden in it. But before any of you
Oh.
Canadians get all high and mighty about how those reckless Americans have disrespected the great hunk of metal, let us not forget that in 1962, the Toronto Maple Leafs decided it might be a good idea to throw the thing on a bonfire. Like the Brits burnt effigies of the pyromaniac Guy Fawkes. They were apparently rather drunk at the time. In 1905, players in Ottawa tried to dropkick it across the Rideau Canal. 20 years later, the two kids of a manager saw it in their basement and thought they'd put their names on it, so they did the inscriptions with a rusty nail.
Oh
In
my
1961, a Canadian wasn't happy about the cup being won by an American team, so he did the reasonable thing and stole it. He got
Oh my
caught and said to the
goodness.
judge, "Your Honor, I was simply bringing the cup back to Montreal where it belongs." Too right, brother. Who wouldn't have done that? Everything in its rightful
That's
place. eh?
amazing.
But the cup ended up back in Canada the year after, when the Toronto Maple Leafs won it again. That was a good year too, because perhaps for the first time it was filled with pee. Yep, that happened when a player put his son in it so he could take a cute photo.
Oh my
but
goodness,
the kid
and the
just
kid
couldn't
peed.
hold it all in and
That's
let one go
hilarious.
inside. Years later, another player put his baby girl
didn't know
in
the
it, and
Toronto
she
Maple Leafs
really
won it
let
that
one go,
many times.
trumping the incontinent Toronto boy by dumping a stinking number 2 in the cup. We
Oh.
hope it was cleaned after, because lots of players have admitted to trying to sleep in the thing. Some have filled it with
my
dog food and
goodness.
let their canine friends eat out of it, while other players have tried to see if it
Wow.
floats.
This has
which
been
it certainly
abused.
doesn't, as the tests confirmed. Maybe it's a witch, because many players have said it was cursed. Apparently, if you touch it before winning it, your team will not win that year, and it actually has been confirmed too. It's been thrown
Wow.
downstairs, fallen off balconies, been a baptism bath, fallen
Oh
off
my
many
goodness.
tables, and has even been tested for germs. In 2010, it was discovered that it had on it a fair bit of E. coli,
Oh
but we
my
aren't going to
good-
blame
what?
the pooping Canadian for that. It has certainly been around too, having hitchhiked once when a player's car broke down. But in terms of wider travel, the cup has been all around the world. When Canadians and
Holy
Americans were
crap.
fighting in Afghanistan in 2007, it went over there. Apparently, nothing boosts morale like a sports trophy, and it actually did 2 tours in Afghanistan. It survived its
What?
second tour, and then went on to star in a gay pride festival in Chicago. It's
This is
also
insane.
been
I
all
didn't
around
know
Europe,
all
and
of
in
this happened.
2006 even made it back to Stanley's old stomping ground of London. It's done a fair bit of traveling around Finland, Sweden, Ukraine, Russia, Slovenia, and Slovakia. When it goes stateside, which happens a lot
Wow.
lately, it also gets to visit the White House. Presidents Trump, Obama,
it's
both
just been
Bushes,
everywhere.
and Reagan all had it for a while as an ornament. But those that
been
take care of
everywhere.
this cup when it's not traveling around or being used as a toilet or dog bowl have asked players to treat the thing with more respect. They seem to think Stanley of Preston would be spinning in his grave if he knew his creation had graced stages in the Big Apple, where lascivious men lech over bronze girls with fake mammary glands while slipping $10 into their waistbands. We're trying to preserve the history of the Stanley Cup, said one caretaker.
Yeah,
well,
of
ain't
course.
history inclusive? Perhaps those adventures the Cup has been on are its history. What do you think?
Wow.
Should players be more respectful to this thing?
What do you think, actually? Yeah, should they be more respectful? Like, this thing has gone everywhere. It's been through every germ, every trash can, every number twos and number ones, and strip clubs, and I don't know what. Holy. Okay, I did not know the history of the Stanley Cup. So, Stanley of Preston came to Canada, liked the sport they were playing in Ottawa and Montreal, which is hockey, and created a cup around it, or a league. That's insane. That's actually pretty awesome to know the history of this sport, basically. So it basically started in Ottawa/Montreal, basically. That's where it all began, between those two regions. Wow. And really long time ago as well. That's an old trophy, like 1894 that the Montreal Canadiens won the first ever, I guess, cup. Wow. A lot of other sports I don't know the history of, so I might need to check those out. It's good knowledge, you know. It's awesome. Like, I love this historical knowledge about certain sports, certain events in history. Those are always awesome. I'll have to add more of those in my reactions as well. But for now, I'll see you on the next one, and peace.